Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Recruiting Podcast. I'm Billy Embody. With me is Shay Dixon. We are going to give you guys the down and dirty early National Signing Day, is what we're calling it now, preview for LSU. Guys, the Tigers are looking to have kind of a drama-free Wednesday and kind of week overall, but there are a few things we want to get to. And let's lead off with this, Shay. You wrote about it on the site, the Bengal Tiger. Subscribe now. $55 for an entire year. Gets you covered all the way through pretty much next year's early National Signing Day. LSU has all their commits lined up, ready to go, ready to sign early with the Tigers, which is big news overall when you look at the overall landscape of college football.
This is the biggest news that's not getting talked about very much. The fact that LSU has 27 guys, 26 high school commitments, and one JUCO commitment who are all now set to sign on Wednesday. You can remember any offseason in the history of tracking recruiting, and we're following somebody. So many schools out there, Billy, right now are hinging some of the top players in their class on how a decision goes across the final 24 hours. That's not the case for LSU. We saw them very early on start to build this class. As time went on, they weeded some guys out. I guess you could say mutually parting of ways where the class kind of got cleaned up a bit. And then you get to a point where now, yes, there's still some holes that you would like to have filled, but in what you knew was a down year in Louisiana, and I'll talk about a couple things on this podcast that I love, but in what you knew was a down year in Louisiana, you did very good about locking up the state. And to this point now, Wardell Mack has an offer. He was never coming to LSU. He never showed interest. Dominick McKinley is the only other guy who has an offer and is highly ranked and isn't committed to LSU in Louisiana. He's committed to A&M. But again, we'll talk about him in a minute. He does not plan to sign this week. I talked to his mom about it. So for them to be able to set things up to go into tomorrow, I've talked to every source I've been on the phone with, Billy, over the past 48 hours. I've been like, all right, so what's the twist? And they're like, there isn't one yet. And let's knock on wood and cross your fingers and say your prayers. But it appears LSU will go into the early signing period doing exactly what you want to do, which is getting all 27 or all of your commitments that you've got in signed. And you're also not waiting on a handful of guys to tomorrow to where you're sitting around at midnight saying, are they going to come or are they not?
Yeah, that's huge. And another point here too, and we will get to our subscriber questions in kind of rapid fire, you know, in a rapid fire way. A lot of them are that of that nature, but the transfers can sign too, technically, and we've seen that now with the transfer portal and LSU be able to announce those guys. So for those wondering, guys like Xavier Thomas, Jordan Gilbert, they can put pen to paper, and in some cases, you know, they. I think the rule is you actually can sign early as a transfer. You can sign financial aid agreements. You can sign some of your grants and things like that. So LSU can address those guys as well. Brian Kelly will meet with the media on Wednesday. So this is one of those signing days that should be relatively quiet, at least looking at the Wednesday. But Shay, they are looking at bringing in another offensive lineman, and one that officially visited last weekend, and that's Cohen Eckles out of the Houston area at Katy, one of the top high school football programs in the state of Texas. He took an official visit to LSU this past weekend, and if you're watching on our YouTube channel, which we appreciate you guys that are, Auburn leads the On3 RPM. But I talked with him on Sunday about his visit, and he just came off as a guy that really loved LSU. Brad Davis, Carl St. Cyr, Coach DeMeo, all those guys along the offensive line that have really helped recruit it so well over the last couple of years. This visit really stood out to him. It wouldn't shock me if LSU ended up being the pick here.
No, it won't. He's a one-time A&M commitment, and when he committed to A&M, it was over LSU, it was over Auburn, it was over a handful of teams that had been after him. So whenever he decommits from A&M, they've obviously had some massive staff shakeup. He said, let me press the reset button. He went to the Iron Bowl. He was high on Auburn. And then he dialed up Brad Davis and said, hey, I've got 1 weekend left. Can me and my family come over and make this official visit? And They did, and he was part of a group that was all committed guys, and then Eckles. And it brought up the point, 2 points, Billy. One, you already have 5 offensive linemen in high school committed, and they love the guys. There is nobody that they're trying to dump and replace Eckles with. So you get to, do you want to take 6 high school offensive linemen? It's a big number, but these guys are all talented, and we don't know what the future holds with some of these backup O linemen, even that most recently signed guys like Paul Mabenga, who didn't play in a game this year. Like, if guys like that leave after a year or two, then maybe signing 5, 6 offensive linemen isn't the worst idea, because then you've still got depth there where you're not relying on walk-ons. So we'll see what happens. I'm with you. The buzz seems to be starting to grow around LSU more than Auburn. But again, Auburn has talked all week about making a big splash during signing day week, about flipping guys, about putting NIL money out there. So it's neither of us are going to sit here and say anything's a guarantee with a kid who really came back into the picture like 5 days ago. I mean, they were not planning to sign Cohen Eckles until he dialed them up last week and said, can I make one more visit? Now that they're managing, the other part of this, the 85-man scholarship limit, which you only need to hit for fall, is, okay, do we take him? And maybe we do lose some O-linemen to the portal in the spring, or maybe we just feel like we need a little more depth and we're not going to get this guy, so let's just go ahead and take him. That's the conversations the coaching staffs have had, and however those have panned out, what we've picked up on now is that if Cohen Eckles wants in, they've given him the green light. Here's the deal, though. Cohen Eckles is supposed to call a school on Tuesday evening and say, here's my final decision. And A&M's in it, Missouri's in it, some other teams, but everyone believes it's going to be LSU or it's going to be Auburn. So those 2 schools will get a call. We'll see stuff maybe leak out, but Cohen's birthday is Friday. And you got to remember, the early signing period is not a national signing day. It is a 3-day stretch, a 3-day window where you can sign. So that goes Wednesday to Friday. He plans to sign Wednesday, send in his scholarships, but that school won't reveal it. They're obviously not going to ruin it for him. And then he'll get to have his birthday ceremony, I'm sure, with the folks at Katy over on Friday, and celebrate it with family. So whichever way this one goes, stay with us on the Bengal Tiger. We'll let you know. Again, as Billy said, there's smoke starting to kind of go back towards LSU's direction, which would be a late ad. But other than that, I have talked to many sources, Billy, and that's it. They're not messing with Draylon Miller anymore. They're not trying to go flip anybody late that, Sterling Dixon or Charleston Collins, or these guys that we talked about a lot in the process that just remained committed to their schools. One thing I will point out before we move on here, and let me double check to make sure that on your rundown you didn't ask me to talk about this. No. Think about this, Billy. 27 commits. They're all set to sign. Their most and I wrote about this in the Signing Day Insider, which has gone up now on the Bengal Tiger. Again, half off for the year, or $1 for the month. If you just want to test us out for a month, it's $1, and that'll carry you through signing day, coaching changes, the portal window, all that. $1. Billy, myself, Matthew, we're on there all day. You get Chad Simmons and all of our national teams, Sam Spiegelman. So I really feel like we're crushing it out here with staying ahead of info. And I think another thing that people are not talking about is the close that LSU just had. Remember, a year ago, they added a couple guys late, and they were flips, but they were late ads that they felt were good senior evals. It was Dylan Carpenter out of Santa Ma, who flipped from UL to LSU, and it was Christian Brathwaite out of Texas, a linebacker, who flipped from Baylor to LSU. The 5 most recent commitments into this class right now, Billy, were all flips. They flipped a 5-star in Weston Davis, and this began in October. 5-star in Weston Davis, a top 100 player in CJ Jackson away from Georgia Tech, Weston flipping from A&M. Bernard Causey flipped from Ole Miss. PJ Woodland flipped from Mississippi State. That gave them 2 corners. Then they get into the month of December, and they flip another A&M guy in Gabe Relaford, On3 top 100 prospect, a top 10 D lineman, and just as importantly, a kid from Louisiana who for a long time said LSU is my dream offer, but A&M's been there with me from the start. So not only did the last 5 additions are all good players, they're all flips, and 4 of the 5 flips are from SEC schools.
Yeah, and also Joe Cryer as well, Ole Miss. I mean, just the in-season flips this year were a lot bigger and not as talked about. I know there were some guys that ended up going away, but I agree with you. Awesome job by this staff. And they're riding momentum too. We'll get to the 2025 class, but things are certainly looking up. And so stick with us. I also like the Cohen Eckles offer from the standpoint of they offered him right after the spring. They went and saw him. They knew what they liked about him, got on him, and things were trending that way to A&M for a while, but they stayed on him. They kept recruiting him, and you could tell Brad Davis really made an impact there. So we'll be watching that. Cohen Eckles. Another thing we're watching, Shay, is our friends at Game Time for all the deals surrounding the ReliaQuest Bowl with Wisconsin, LSU. My folks are going to be there. Tampa, right there. So they're making their way over. My dad's got his a Bogies polo he's going to have on, so you might be able to recognize him if he's rolling around the ReliaQuest Bowl for that one. Matty B will be there. This is are you going, Shay? I forgot. Hold on.
Where are you saying? Where do you want me?
Which are you or Matty B going for the
I'm
ReliaQuest
going.
Bowl?
I'm
Okay,
going. The press box would be, I assume,
it's in
not
the
that cool looking ship area in the end zone.
it's in
So
the corner over here. Actually,
okay,
unfortunately,
so
no
all of
pirate.
y'all right now can buy better seats than I'll have in the press box.
Yes, you're not bad. It's a corner. It's like where LSU's is, but we lean on our friends at Game Time for situations like this. You can find the flash deals, you can find their last minute deals, and the great thing about it is with their app, it takes 2 clicks to buy tickets on games. You could use Apple Pay, Google Pay, whatever. The Game Time app makes it super easy to buy last minute tickets. That Game Time guarantee also means that if you find tickets for less in the same section or row, you can get 110% of the difference credited to you from Game Time. So that's why we have the promo code Tigers, Tigers, for $20 off your first order. So create that account. Terms do apply, but Game Time gets you that lowest price guaranteed for all your events, whether it's the ReliaQuest Bowl, whether it's finding a ticket to the Lightning game the night before, if you're interested in that, if you're an LSU fan down in Tampa, or a comedy show or theater or concerts throughout the year, we always lean on Game Time, a huge partner for us at the Bengal Tiger.
Don't forget, there's the Saints game the day before, Saints Bucks. Get on
Oh,
Game Time and buy that too. You can go to double dose it. I'm trying to do it. I'm gonna get on Game Time. I'm buying Saints tickets for the day before. Then I'll be in the press box up in those bad seats the day after. So nice little 1-2 punch for me.
yeah, nice sporting opportunity for all you guys going to that one in Tampa. So check it out there on Game Time, the official ticketing app of On3 and the Bengal Tigers. So appreciate
Who
Game
dat?
Time.
Who dat? I'm here for the NFC South meltdown of a race to the finish. So I'll go watch it.
Yes, bring it home, Shay. Bring it home. I'm on the Cowboys train this year, so we'll see. Great one last year.
You've
Sorry, last
bailed
year
on the
too.
Bucks?
I've been out on the Bucks since they fired Gruden back in the day.
Oh, Billy, there are Lightning games too. So for those who want to go to a
Yes.
Lightning game, if you're in Tampa, I've already had a couple of friends say they picked up on Game Time some cheap Lightning tickets. So
The Lightning Arena, and you can see it on Game Time, the app as well. It is just one of the great indoor venues. They have done a really nice job. All the seat backs have leather cushions, and the whole outdoor arena there down, like the outdoor area around it is really cool. And they play the Canadiens at night, so you can actually find some really good tickets, but all the snowbirds will be down there cheering on the Canadiens. So you can get some pretty good tickets there in Amalie Arena. It's a great barn, as they say in hockey. So lean on our friends from Game Time for that. Moving on, Shay, we do have a couple of guys that we are expecting to sign late. You mentioned Dominick McKinley, the 5-star defensive lineman from Acadiana. Your sources telling us that we're expecting him to sign late. So we don't need to get too much into that, but LSU's squarely in the picture for him after that in-home visit. And the Tigers are getting him on campus for an official visit in January as well.
So what's the vibe here? What do you think? Because there's been buzz that Odom could sign Wednesday. And look, even I talked to his mother, Angie, last week. She very matter-of-factly said he's waiting till February. We want to see how these schools fill out their coaching staffs. Of course, being 24 hours out, you start to hear the buzz of A&M's pushing him to sign. Texas is pushing him to sign. All the LSU is going to be pushing him to sign. That's everybody. But the reality is the McKinley family seems to have made a decision. They're going to stick with it. I would be nothing shocks me, but with how they've approached this process, and you've said it a million times, he doesn't love recruiting. I think right now is when they're finally taking recruiting very seriously. And Angie McKinley, his mother, said on these in-home visits, it's made us realize, okay, this is a final decision. You've got to be comfortable with these staffs. And when LSU's rolling in without your D coordinator or D line coach, and A&M's rolling in with a brand new D line coach and D coordinator, and you've got Syracuse coming in with a new D coordinator who used to be your D line coach and recruiter at A&M. It muddies the waters, I think, enough for them to feel like February is the best route to go, because then you can just know exactly what's out there.
Yeah, and I'm with you as well. And a lot of people around Texas are wondering, kind of what is next for A&M on the defensive coordinator front. Obviously, is covering LSU. We've been tracking what's going on with the defensive staff, but nothing changed there. That's in part why Frank Wilson has taken a key role in this for a long time now. That's been the case really since Jamar Kane left and everything unfortunately went down with Coach Lindsey as well. But this is probably the right move for them overall to try and find out where they feel best at. And I mean, at this point, we're not expecting him to sign early. I'm in the boat that LSU has done well enough to position them right where you'd want to be after everything that's gone down with A&M and this and that. They're in a good spot, and they're finally on what I feel like is the best footing they've been on in this recruitment. And hopefully, if you're LSU, you can reel them in because of that. So with that, Terry Bussey, another guy who is a Texas A&M commit, watching what's going on with the Aggies, is another one that buzz has crept up that he might sign early, but multiple sources telling us that we're not expecting that. He's been on the record with me. He's been on the record with multiple people
Yeah.
about waiting until February, and we expect that to be the case still.
Here's what Bussey told Billy after the Timpson state title game. He said, and on3, Sam was there as well. So shout out to both of y'all for going out and putting in the work to get firsthand info from Bussey here. And let's paint this picture too. And the same with McKinley, honestly. These are two kids who have not played games. They're not lying about anything. Bussey's guardians are not out here like pimping him out for NIL deals. Like Bussey has been straight up the entire time. I like A&M. I'm leaning to A&M. I didn't get to make visits. When he didn't get to make visits, he said, I'll hold off on committing. He visited Bama and LSU. Then he committed to A&M. Now there has been real staff shakeup. So without being an early enrollee, you do not have to sign in December. So for him, he said, hey, look, I just want, much like McKinley, to see how these staffs shake out. The quote he gave was, I'm trying to make the best decision for me, Bussey said. I'm looking at everyone individually now. I'm having an open mind with A&M, seeing how it shakes out there, and it's been all good so far. But there will be a couple of new schools that I'll visit, as well as a couple of schools that I will return to. LSU is in that mix. So I firmly believe Terry when he says, hey, look, me and my guardians have decided my best option is let's just wait this one out until February. And look, it's also not a shock that two kids who are doing this, one, are both A&M commitments where you've had massive staff shakeup, and two, both these kids played for state titles, like went deep into play. I believe Acadiana make the state title game. If not, they fell short one game, but did they make the state title?
Yes, they made the state title.
So did Timpson. But regardless, both these guys played high school football all the way into December. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity to just be like, oh, I can just go visit places every weekend. That wasn't happening. So it is of no surprise to me at all. And I'll probably speak for you and say the same, that when you list out all those things that these two guys are saying, hey, I'm not an early enrollee, I'm just going to press pause and pick it back up in January.
Yeah, no surprise. And I have nothing else to add there. I will say, Shay, whenever National Signing Day, early signing period is over, we need to lean on our friends at Rogue Shop to kind of relax. The Bengal Tigers official home for legal CBD, THC, and more. Use that promo code Bengal Tiger for 10% off your order. Once the early signing period's over, it's going to be hopefully kind of a lull, Christmas and leading up to the bowl game and all of those things for LSU fans. So enjoy a little Rogue Shop. You can chat with Richard and Shar on the site, get the latest rundown on what you guys need to just enjoy, the holidays a little bit more, relax, take some of the anxiety out of it. If you have trouble sleeping as well, they can help you with that. That's why we lean on Rogue Shop, the Bengal Tigers official home for legal CBD, THC, and more. So shout out Rogue Shop. Appreciate them as always for their support of the podcast. Shay, we do have a bunch of subscriber questions. If you submitted one and I think it's already been answered, I am going to just rapid fire it and move it along. So we're going to get into those now. I put the 10-minute timer up on the Bengal Tiger for the subscribers, and they delivered a bunch of questions here for us. Tiger fan 5454, is Cohen Eckles a take? Yes. Go Tigs 999. Does LSU get Cohen? We think it's kind of trending that way. Kind of addressed him there early in the pod. Carone 3 asks, handicap the chances of LSU getting Eckles, Bussey, and McKinley. And he said signing, so I assume he's talking about the early signing period. So I don't think they get Bussey or McKinley early. I don't think anybody does. But Shay, I'm kind of starting to lean maybe 60-40 LSU get to Cohen Eckles. You're on mute.
I think that's a fine number. I'd put it above 50 just because we haven't heard any. We've heard LSU sources say, hey, look, this might start to go in our direction. And at the same time, Auburn sources be like, boy, he doesn't seem like the lock that the staff felt he was prior to visiting LSU. So, yes, I think that. And look, it could go back and forth here, Billy. But yes, maybe at the time of recording this, I would put LSU ahead. I don't know how to answer the Bussey McKinley thing. That's for February.
Yep. Tiger Rev, are there any potential signing day surprises like flips to LSU or decisions that work postponed that day may decide to pull the trigger early? We're not in for any surprises.
Not unless Bussey or McKinley suddenly did decide on Wednesday. And if that were the case, it's probably not LSU.
Yeah.
And then Eckles, as we said, is the only uncommitted guy that we're really watching who is set to sign this week.
Christian Case, biggest surprise ever on National Signing Day.
On National Signing Day. Oh, man. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like, biggest surprises, like Eric Gilbert committing to LSU, nobody saw coming, not even the LSU staff, but that wasn't on National Signing Day.
Yep.
Did you have one that jumped out?
No, I mean, Eric Gilbert is still probably the biggest surprise. I mean, I don't know. There haven't been many that jumped out to me. I mean, I don't know. I'll answer it like this. I think guys like Jamar Chase, that was, a battle all the way up until the end. I mean, it was. I mean, one that didn't go LSU's way was Surtain.
I don't know if we're talking in general too. This will be for the throwbacks. I guess one that would probably stand out that's not really LSU related, but he's a well-known guy. I remember when CJ Spiller was supposed to go to Florida, and this would have been 06, 07 range, and he was a 5-star running back, obviously. But on National Signing Day, all set up to commit to Florida, he signs a letter of an intent with Clemson, and then word broke that Bobby Bowden had sort of gotten involved and pushed him away from Florida and suggested to sign with Clemson. But I just remember they had some video down there from the news station where when Spiller said, oh, I'm not going to Florida, I've actually already signed with Clemson. And then his mom starts crying on the stage. And obviously it worked out for him. But LSU hasn't had a ton of those. Like, we at least like 5 for 5 started to fall apart there at the end, and it was like, uh-oh, this might not go their way. But in terms of true surprises where like even the parents didn't know what was coming, I thought that is one that still takes the cake.
That's pretty good. Story of the year, any surprise last minute early signings that could happen? We've covered that. Go HU. How would you grade this class if McKinley and Bussey both signed with LSU in February? I would give it an A.
Oh, yeah, well, that
I mean,
happens, and it's as good
like,
as it gets for a down year in
yeah,
Louisiana.
it might be a top 3 class, especially an on 3. Might be number 2. Maybe. Am I wrong?
No, I
I don't
wouldn't climb
I
that high, but it'd be top 5 probably, so.
well, number 6 right now, but I don't know
Oh,
what,
on 3 alone, yes. So
yeah.
on 3, we have LSU ranked number 6. The other sites, Rivals, ESPN, and Scout, have them ranked 12 and 13. So we are a bit higher on LSU's classes than the rest, but we'll stand
Alright.
firm on it. We believe in our rankings team.
Yep. Rustin 97. Who are the top 3 favorite recruits from this class? I'll go Gabe Relaford. I was basically a shill for him back in the spring, both for LSU and the rankings team. So I'm real high on Gabe Relaford. I'll go with Deshaun McBride. I love me some Deshaun McBride. And then I would probably say Trades Green or Caden Durham.
I love Trades Green. I think he is an electric who now I'm hearing is measuring over 6'7", playing tight end, flexing out at receiver. Freaky basketball player above the rim, but someone who can go out there and dominate in football. And we saw it all the way to the state title game. I think that just how much fun it'll be to watch him. He's up there for me. I think one of the best fits is probably Weston Davis, just with what Brian Kelly and Brad Davis do with offensive linemen and the raw product he is and what they can turn him into. He's a 5-star. I think he lives up to that billing. Those are easy choices, so I'll try not to choose guys you chose and slip further down the list. I think people are sleeping a little bit on PJ Woodland out of Mississippi. He was named the Gatorade Player of the Year defensively in Mississippi, but also won 7A defensive MVP for the season. Had a great year again at Oak Grove. So he's a guy at corner that I would watch and see if they can't develop. I think Joe Cryer's got some nasty film. I think people are forgetting that Aaron Burrell, the number 1 kicker in the country, is committed to LSU out of Parkway up in Bossier City. From talking to guys like a lot, I love Ahmad Bro. He's one of my favorite players. I love Juwan Johnson. He's one of my favorite players, and I think they're good football players as well. If I'm picking like my sneaky bottom of the class rankings, who could break out and become starters, I would pick Bernard Causey and Joe Cryer. I think those are 2 guys who aren't carrying lofty rankings that make your head turn, but we could look up in 3 or 4 years and be like, glad you signed those guys.
Good stuff there. Cap City, we answered your question about Bussey and McKinley. Irish Tiger, we kind of talked about Bussey and McKinley with the ranking if they get them. We go 23. We've talked about any commits late this cycle. We think LSU signs everybody. Go HU, pick a guy on offense and defense that you'll put the most stock in being a long-term success at LSU. So I would handicap this one as guys that I feel like have a really high floor. So they'll start, they'll contribute, and I feel good about that happening. I would say on offense, I would go with, I guess I would go with probably Caden Durham. I just feel like he's going to get reps. Especially with where the running back room is right now.
And running backs play early.
Yep, running backs play early. And then on defense, I will go with Gabe Relaford. I feel pretty good about him too.
I'll go with one of the DBs on defense. I don't know which one, but I like your Durham pick. Maybe a safety, maybe a McBride. I don't know. If Major Burns leaves, you're replacing 2 safeties. Jordan Gilbert out of the portal will be 1, but is Kylan Jackson ready? Is Ryan Yates ready? Do you shuffle guys around again? Does Sage Ryan move back to safety? I don't know these answers, but there could be an opportunity for a young guy to get in the mix. But yeah, I'll go. I like your picks.
Yeah, and I'm with you on like a safety like McBride. I almost went that way. Welcome to Death Valley. Do you see a surprise signing on LSU side? Nope. Follow up with, does Dom and Bussey actually wait? Yes. I know it's early sign day, but where are we going with? Are there any names to share at defensive tackle with so many depth chart guys moving on? I mean, we don't have anything. They're going to try to swing, I would imagine, at another guy in the portal. But
Well, they're trying to retain Mason Smith and Mekhi
yes,
Wingo right now.
that's
That's what people have to realize is there
yeah,
are no high school guys they're still after.
yep. Irish Tiger 18, more likely to get one of them, two of them, none of them, Bussey and McKinley. I'll go one of them, and I'll go McKinley. That's the like.
When we played this game with Relaford, I said at least one, and it would be Relaford. Now that we're doing it with just two, I'm a little more hesitant, but I'll go one, and I'll say McKinley.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance they get none of them, but I don't see them getting both of them as of right now. Texan Tiger, who are some of the commits that were influential in recruiting others to the class? Wallace Foster's one, Colin Hurley,
Juwan
um,
Johnson,
Jawan
Mod Bro.
Johnson for sure, Ahmad Bro, Kalaj Cobbins. I mean, a lot of these Louisiana kids were really active. So yeah. Hunter Fournette, which linebacker has the most productive LSU career? Productive. Ooh, man, this is tough. Part of me wants to just say Devon Keys because I feel like he's the safest high floor player. So I guess that's who I'll go
I
with.
don't mind that pick. This is who has the
Xavier could stack tackles. I mean, he really could. If he puts it all together, Thailand, I think, takes a little minute, but he could be very good. But just like that word productive, like screams Devon Keys, I guess.
I mean, I like Keys because he's coming out of Alito and he's got a lot of production and he's got a lot of experience, but I'll go Atkins.
Yeah, good call. Good call. Last one, LGZ, and then we got to get out of here. Who were some of the earlier commits that were hardest to hold on to behind the scenes? I would probably say, I know this is kind of random, but there were a lot of teams coming after Trades Green quietly, but that dude just didn't waver at all.
No.
Ethan Callaway told me last night that he had a bunch of teams still texting him trying to see if he would, move on and things like that. A lot of the Louisiana guys were obviously solid, but I would say probably those two.
Yeah, the reality here is that
early commits.
Yeah, no, but I mean LSU did a good job of finding guys that were locked in.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's the reality of it. Teams call all these guys. You just don't hear about it. But they have discussions, they're nice about it, and they tell them I'm firmly committed. And even Brian Kelly talked about that, of being how great it was, how this class is stuck together, and said, I'm in from the start. Once you give me my spot, I'm in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he didn't even have to lay any ground rules out of like, you're not allowed to visit anywhere. This wasn't like a Dabo thing. It was, and Brian Kelly talked about it yesterday. He can't speak on names, and he'll say more on signing day. But we asked him about, hey, y'all have got 27 commits and everyone's signing Wednesday. What does it say? And he said that they believe in what we're doing. They're bought in.
Yeah. So here's to hopefully a drama-free early National Signing Day for LSU. Subscribe to the Bengal Tiger, $55 for an entire year. That's half off, or just $1 to start for your first month. Join us. It's been awesome. Lots of conversation on the message board. So it's the perfect time to jump on board with us. For Shay Dixon, I'm Billy Embody. We'll be back, to recap it all at one point. But Shay's got one more thing.
I will say one more point that I wanted to make. I said I would make, and I believe this to be twofold and of importance, but I'll expand on it later. Billy, 27 commitments, 23 of them are from Louisiana or Texas.
Yeah, I love that regional breakdown. I love it.
I mean, and then your other four from Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and North Carolina.
Yep.
And so Florida, Georgia, Mississippi are states you want to stay, or Florida, Georgia, Mississippi are states you want to stay active in. You went to North Carolina, you got a top 100 OT. But other than that, 23 of 27 are from East Texas and Louisiana. I can't stress one, those are two states that per capita hit blue chip at a very high rate. So if you've eval'd correctly, you're getting good players. Two, and actually the numbers are a bit skewed. They have 17 Louisiana guys and then to get to 23-6 in Texas. Two of those Texas guys, Xavier Adkins and Jelani Watkins, are Louisiana natives who just moved to Texas to play high school football. So really, you've got almost 20 Louisiana natives in this class, and then those handful of Texas guys. From talking to coaches, that's so important in the portal. Look right now, they've had one guy from the team, true freshman, leave the team, Jackson McGohan. He's from Ohio, and he transferred to Wisconsin. We saw it with Corey Kiner from Ohio, went back home to Cincinnati. These kids, when you sign them from Louisiana and East Texas, they're not bolting to leave immediately because they know I can stay here and develop. My parents come to every game. My friends are here. I'm from Louisiana, whatever it might be. And now you're retaining guys. Now you're building a roster. Now you're not just saying, oh, and LSU's a national brand. Great. Go all over the country and recruit everybody from New Jersey and the East Coast and Washington and California and see how far that gets you towards building a roster that lasts.
Yep. So with that, stick with the Bengal Tiger for more. Tons of fun on the message board. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you guys after the early signing period. For Shay Dixon, I'm Billy Embye. Thanks for listening.